Well, welcome back to David Zucker, director of Airplane, Naked Gun series, Top Secret. Let's see, BASEketball, scary movie. You've
We've lost
mentioned
count.
before, but you've shaped my comedy
And I
since I
think
was a
there was
child.
a Ruthless People in there somewhere. And
Yeah, but not Ghost. That was
not Ghost, but I wish I would take credit for that any day. That was a great picture by my brother.
absolutely.
And, it was something that he really stretched it a little bit. And I think the writer won an Oscar, and it was kind of a travesty that Jerry was not nominated for Best Director. I don't know who they think directs these movies. Maybe they direct themselves, but he
I
should have
know,
been
and
nominated.
it's a classic that still holds till today. I mean,
It does. It's just great. Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so we're here mostly to talk about the MasterCrash course coming out
Right.
August 4th. Tell us briefly what it is.
Well, MasterCrash is, a course in spoof comedy, and I realized that a lot of people were trying to do this and, doing it kind of good or, mediocre, but I wanted to. They don't know the rules, and Jerry and Jim and I had rules that we evolved over 30 or 40 years of mainly things not to do. So you can really, it would help a writer and a director if they want to do spoof comedy to cut to the chase and avoid a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, what is the biggest mistake that most people do?
Well, I think the biggest mistake is having characters act funny. And, we absolutely said, don't do that because it constitutes a joke on a joke. So you can only do two jokes at once. You can have something funny going on in the background, but you have to have the characters be dead serious up front. And when we did the Airplane, and you really one of the first tries at this, at directing it, some of the actors thought they needed to put a little spin on it. And we said, no, you can't. Even Leslie, who was became a master at this, put a little spin on it. In fact, we sent him home with a VHS copy of Zero Hour. I don't know if you know what that is, but that was
I know it's based on Airplane.
Airplane is based on Zero Hour. Wonderful plot by a really good screenwriter, Arthur Haley. And so we sent him home, and they had the doctor character in that movie. And Leslie came back, and he had it. And then he continued that kind of deadpan in The Naked Gun. And of course, in Police Squad, which we did, that was our television series.
Yeah.
Which The Naked Gun was based on.
I mean, I definitely remember that. And that was as deadpan as you can get.
Right.
There's something that I find a lot in comedies nowadays, but it seems like there's this need to acknowledge a joke had been told or to explain the joke that had
right. And it's another rule that we have in our 15 rules. And by the way, the 15th rule is there are no rules. So lest anybody try to take themselves seriously here. But we don't. What was the?
It was the fact that comedies these days, especially for kids, this is where I noticed it the most.
Acknowledgement. You said acknowledgement, and that's one of our rules is acknowledgement. And I think we approached it as, you have to have respect for the audience, their intelligence. So you can't always point out the joke. You can let the audience find the joke. So in Ruthless People, somebody just reminded me of this the other day, that we had the characters in the foreground, the two cops talking, and in the background, Danny DeVito was talking to someone in the foreground, and in the background, the two cops are playing tennis. And so it got a big laugh.
Yeah.
And it's just one of the rules that you can do background stuff. And also, I started to mention, don't point to the joke. You don't cut to the joke. So in Airplane, when Leslie Nielsen is working on a patient, and something happens there's some turbulence, and he goes, "What the hell's going on up there?" And all you see in the foreground is just two female legs sticking up, and he's giving some lady a pelvic. So, but we don't point to it, and he never acknowledges it.
Yeah,
So
the one scene that comes to mind, and it might fall in the there are no rules, but it's the scene of the two kids who are basically adults, and
yeah.
then she says how she likes her coffee, and I believe you cut to the reaction of the other kid in that one.
Oh yeah, no, that was an easy one. We also cut to the reaction in when Kareem is yelling at the kid,
Hmm.
and we cut to his reaction, and it's very effective. So this is it's not in every instant, but often it works if you don't cut to a reaction. So when Leslie is driving in the police car with George Kennedy, uh,
Hmm.
George Kennedy says George Kennedy is in the foreground, and he says Norbert, would they give him a 50-50 chance of living, but there's only a 10% chance of that. And then Leslie looks at him like, what is that? So, but we don't cut to it.
Yeah,
It
is that just a moment to breathe, or is it a
No,
moment?
it's just you just it's subtlety. We try,
Uh-huh.
look, we've never been accused of subtlety, but I mean, the shit hitting the fan. So
Yeah,
but but there is a lot of subtlety involved in it, and the audience likes not being pointed out.
yeah.
The joke. When I do texts, I never put a smiley face on it or or one of those emojis where this laugh out loud thing, or I don't say LOL. I just, if the person
If they
gets
get
the
it, they get
joke,
it.
they get it. And I've gotten in trouble for not doing that too. So when
I certainly
somebody
have this.
takes me seriously.
Yeah, and I think you speak to it. It's you. I think I think studios underestimate their audiences for
They
getting.
do. And we get asked all the time when we do a Q&A after screening Airplane or Top Secret or Naked Gun, could you do Airplane today? And I always say, sure, just without the jokes. It's because not because the audience doesn't want those jokes or get it. It's the studio boardrooms are very frightened. And
Yeah,
so they kind of, that's why there aren't any good comedies in theaters these days.
yeah.
Now, the upcoming Naked Gun 4 may be good. So,
Hmm.
I'm hoping that it will be good and it'll do well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, going back to MasterCrash though, is my understanding this is an interactive kind of uh,
Yes,
program?
it's interactive. They'll all have opportunities to interact with me, and if anybody wants to do that. But we're people have questions, and I mean, I'm teaching it, and I'm giving examples from not only our movies, but from dozens of other movies. Like the way we learned background was from a movie called Harold and Maude, which was
Hmm.
in the
Yeah.
1970s somewhere. And I don't know if you remember, if you're familiar with the movie.
Oh, that was a long time. But was it
It
Austin Pendleton?
no,
Oh, no,
it
no,
was
no.
Bud
Ruth
Cort
Gordon. That
and
was it.
Ruth Gordon. Ruth
Yeah,
Gordon.
that's it.
So Ruth Gordon is talking to a social worker inside the house, and outside the window you can see Bud Cort lighting himself on fire, and it's hilarious. But if you cut to it, it would have just drained 50% out of it. So the audience appreciates you're giving them, some credit for any amount of intelligence.
Yeah. Well, then also, I think it plays into replay value. It's, if you missed it and you see
If
the
you
second
missed
time.
it, then yeah, and there's things in Airplane that you miss.
Oh,
When the big plane crashes through the glass of the terminal, uh, on the 17th viewing, you can see there's a woman running away from it, and she throws her baby in the air.
yeah.
So see, you haven't seen that. You've got
Okay, that one. Okay, I missed that one. I definitely missed it.
Yeah, there's just stuff that people miss, and well, people always comment that they have to see it a couple of times to get everything.
Yeah. So who would you suggest would benefit the most from like someone who already has a script, or is it who is it really?
A lot of people, I get so many emails and Instagrams and messenger. People find me and they want advice, or they have a question about doing spoof, or they have a script, and I certainly don't want to read scripts.
Right.
But and I don't know what to tell them. I mean, I'd like to answer everyone, but I think Well, what I get from this is that there's a lot of people out there who want to try this. Everybody thinks they have a script, they have an idea, and if they do, they should have the opportunity, at least a half a chance of doing it right. So
Yeah.
I think this kind of thing will be great. And I don't only offer some of my advice on writing, but also on directing,
Hmm.
and in also how to get your stuff seen by the right people. I mean, this is an impossible business to get into or out of, as my brother said.
Yes, and comedies are certainly make it even harder compared to
Oh,
every other
comedies
genre.
are very hard because in a theatrical comedy, you're out there. If you're in a traditional theater with an audience, I mean, if people don't laugh, it's painful. But I find that there's not much going on in movies these days, but there is on TV. Like,
Hmm.
South Park is great,
Yeah,
and those guys do original stuff, and I admire them for that. And the Impractical Jokers
yeah.
are hysterical. And so, I mean, when I first saw that, I don't know, about 7 or 8 years ago, I emailed those guys because I had met them once, but I didn't know who they were or what they did. And I told them I couldn't watch more than 20 minutes of it because I was choking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my God. And look, and we talk about theaters. There's nothing better than watching a comedy in a full theater.
right. That's why I root for, the health of the theatrical movie business.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned scripts. I'm curious, what piece of advice other than email it to you would you give someone who just completed their script? What advice would you give them to what as a next step?
Well, you have to find either an agent or a star who will get the attention of an agent or a
Hmm.
studio. So, what we did, on Kentucky Fried Movie, we had to start from scratch, and we actually spent our own money, and it was about $25,000 at that time in 1977. There's $76,
Hmm.
and we made 10 minutes of what became Kentucky Fried Movie on 35 millimeter, and had a real director directed who was just a guy we had met, John Landis,
Yeah.
and we just didn't know how to direct. We had never been on a movie set before, but we went in. We're on the set as writers and executive producers, and we made suggestions, and we learned how to direct from that experience. We learned from John
Hmm.
Landis, and he took a lot of our suggestions, but he couldn't take all of them. So we knew that we had to direct to make Airplane
Hmm.
what we wanted to make it.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine as a comedy writer to hand it over to a director and I guess pray that they understand the jokes and how to film it.
Right, and that'll be the only thing you can do is pray, unless you unless you get to direct. And if you have a guy like Landis who not only took many of our suggestions, but he also added a lot of jokes himself in the movie, and that was just a great circumstance that and I just called him up out of the blue.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it like maybe 3 years ago, and I was like, how have I missed this one? And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that it was R-rated, and my parents wouldn't let me.
Yeah, well, that's true. I wouldn't even let you see it. Yeah, but I think a lot of it holds up.
Yeah.
And there was some of this racial stuff that still is very edgy today.
Hmm. Yeah. So let me ask you. My understanding is this all started as an improv troupe or improv group you were part of. Am
Well,
I right?
yeah, what happened was I wanted to be I wanted to be in movies, and I'm in Milwaukee. How do you do that?
Yeah.
But I did go to Chicago for a weekend, and while I was there, I saw this show which was a video monitor, and it played about 70 minutes of comedy material, way before Saturday Night Live, way before anything. And most people didn't have video equipment. There were no cell
Mhm.
phones. There were no nothing. And So this gave me the idea, if we could get a hold of some video equipment, we could do this. And that's what we did. So we started our own theater using this Sony closed circuit deck, and it was a huge deck and a camera that went over your shoulder. And we were able to borrow this, which was also lucky. And we hollowed out the back of a bookstore, a storage room, and we had a 70-seat theater, and we opened up, and word of mouth just carried it. Now, but nowadays, I think what people would do would, put stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can get stuff online. I don't know if the way to do it is, but the only way we could do it before was there no internet there. And I sound like one of these old guys who's saying,
Yeah.
in 1900 there were no cars, So, but that's what we were able to do. We did whatever, and we combined live skits with video. We had the video monitors on stage.
Yeah. I mean, did you use improv to
We
build the
did.
script, or?
We used a bit of improv to work out skits. Yeah, but we weren't. But Jerry and Jim and I weren't that great at improv. We weren't performers, although my brother was great at it. But our fourth partner, Dick Chudnow, was 100%. He was very, very. He was genius at improv. And in fact, he went back to Milwaukee after he left the theater, and he started Comedy Sports, which big, you're familiar.
I'm part
with
of what used to be San Diego Comedy Sports.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have improv is still kind of a big thing. Do you have advice for people doing improv in terms of, how they should hone their skills? And
well, I'm not. All I can say is, I have no skills in improv, except when I'm in a restaurant, I do what they call crowd work, and I just interact with people, and then always end up giving them a bookmark, which advertises my book, Surely Can't Be Serious. And I always, I love to entertain people in strangers in a public setting. But I don't know what I would tell people to do except to join a group. In LA, we have the Groundlings.
Right.
And I think Upright Citizens Brigade might still be good.
I believe they're still there.
Yeah. And so you can, if you're good, you can get in those. And if you're not so good, you can get into one of their workshops and learn to do it. And so that may be a way. And if you're really talented, you could probably get on Saturday Night Live. I'm sure, Dick Chudnow, had Saturday Night Live been invented then, he would have been on that easily.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I do want to ask you a airplane question, but I think a lot of what I remember, the impressions I got from Airplane was you took these very serious actors and put them in not only comedic situations, but risky situations. And I'm wondering, my favorite part is Barbara Billingsley.
Yeah.
Was it easy to get her on board? And
it was easy to get everybody. Everybody wants to be in the movie. However, the first person we went to was Harriet Nelson. And we thought she was our first choice. And but I thought she thought the script was a little too risque for her. Looking back on it, things rated PG, but still, it probably would be rated R today. Yeah.
Did you have a list of people? You had Howard Jarvis, for crying out loud.
Well, somebody just thought we just needed a guy that was just an inspired idea, and I can't remember who came up with it. Leslie Nielsen was not our first choice. Robert Stack was our first choice for Kramer, but Leslie was like the fourth choice, and Lloyd Bridges was the second, the third choice, and Peter Graves was somewhere down the line. But we were guided by some divine force to get the right people. And I can't imagine anyone else in any of those roles today.
Yeah. And had you known Robert Hayes for a while, or?
No, we met him. Our casting directors were searching everywhere. But somebody else, his manager contacted our executive producer, and I forgot her name, and it turned out he was right on the lot shooting Angie,
Oh yeah.
and it took his manager, calling Howard Koch, and Howard said, well, my friend so and so, Bob's manager, and wanted to put his name in for Stryker, and here's his picture. And we thought, well, he looks good, and he came in to read, and he was great, and nobody else really was great who came in to read.
Yeah, I mean, was it that he got it, or was it just?
Well, it's a combination of, he's actually a really good actor. Like Leslie is a really good actor.
Yeah.
And Bob also got it. And Bob also added stuff to it. He added just the subtlest of eye movements and stuff to enhance jokes. He was perfect. Plus, he's a handsome leading man. And we kind of learned from that is to cast, handsome leading men and women for the leads. Yeah.
There's something about good-looking protagonists.
There is some, you got to be good. And that wasn't our first instinct. We were thinking of, we thought other actors who were a little bit quirky or funny, and we quickly were, disenchanted with that idea. And, we in the book, we tell a lot of stuff there where we learned on the way. Directing, writing, and a lot of the writing is the rules. And there's a lot of directing things too that if we had learned that, we would have saved ourselves a few mistakes.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, this is probably a good segue to talk about. You've got a director's cut screening with Robert Hayes.
Yes, but people, yeah.
In Seattle and Denver.
In Denver, and I mean, they're advertising it as the director's cut, but it's a little bit misleading because usually people think, oh, there's going to be, 15 minutes of extra great material. First of all, there isn't any extra material in comedy. If anything works, the directors and producers leave it in.
Yeah.
And the other thing about this director's cut is that it's like 5 minutes shorter than the original.
Is it?
Because, Jerry and Jim and I never stop tinkering with stuff, and we just want things we want to keep up the pace. And some of the jokes, we look back on and we cringe, and so we cut them out. So we made this new cut, so it just plays better as a live exercise.
Yeah, I mean, George Lucas was the same way with Star Wars. I don't think I've seen the actual theatrical from '77 again since then because he kept tinkering with it.
He kept, when it came out on video.
Yeah, and even iterations during its first theatrical release, he'd swap out reels, and
it never stops. And we also did another cut of Top Secret, which is 5 minutes shorter.
Oh man!
But then we cut out whole scenes that we just thought this is not good enough, and then people would tell us, oh, that was my favorite scene. So you just can't win. Yeah,
but at the same time, it's like I'll watch deleted scenes from DVDs of other movies and instantly realize, it was a good choice to not put that.
Yeah,
in the movie.
In comedies, believe me, I mean, I've been through it. I've been through previews, and if it gets the laugh, you leave it in, and if it doesn't, if it just falls flat, it's out.
Yeah,
and that's another lesson I teach about directing is to get plenty of coverage so that you can cut out any joke. You can't be stuck. You don't want to be stuck with the joke.
Yeah. People notice the bad ones much more than the good ones.
Yeah.
Tell me about Star of Malta.
Oh, Star of Malta. So we wrote this great script for Naked Gun 4. It was called Naked Gun 4, Nordberg Did It. And Paramount loved it until they didn't love it.
Yeah.
And Seth MacFarlane came in and with Liam and everything. Anyway, so we said, okay, we're going to write another script. And so this is with Pat Proft and Mike
Mhm.
McManus, my longtime writers who know the rules. And so we have always loved film noir. And Zero Hour was from 1957. And so we found another movie that was a 0 hour type drama, which was from 1949, called Detour. And a lot of people have heard of it because it's kind of like this cult favorite. So we took Detour, and unfortunately, it had no third act. So maybe because I could only figure that maybe they ran out of money,
Mhm.
and so we totally rejiggered the whole thing, but using 0 hour as the main characters, and we added characters from other movies, and we used about 10 movies and came up with this wonderful, wonderful script. It's just the best story,
Mhm.
and that's another thing I learned is that this, believe it or not, the story is the most important thing.
Yeah,
In the craziest,
absolutely.
zaniest of comedies, the story is what's important, and what you leave an audience in the last minute. If something, if some serious problem of the character, and not a silly problem, if some serious problem is not resolved, the audience leaves and goes, I don't know about that. So
Yeah.
the audience
Well,
has to feel like something is won.
yeah, I mean, that's something I tell I try to do in my improv is the story between your characters have to have some kind of stakes.
Yeah,
Movie quality stakes. It can't be, what am I going to wear today or what am I going to eat?
right. And if you don't have that, the third act becomes a joke book, which is tough, and you have no ending. So I've done a couple of movies that were had that problem, and and they didn't really perform in the box office. Although just about everything has now become a cult classic. So now I just say I never had a flop. I just had cult classics.
Yeah, they became hits long
They
time ago.
become hits, yeah, long after, yeah, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Top Secret last time, but was it because it was more than just a boy meets girl story, or was the boy meets girl story the through line?
If you go back and watch Top Secret, well,
Mhm.
first of all, it's very funny. It probably is the
It
funniest
is.
thing
It is
we've
one of
ever
my
did.
favorites of yours.
But, and thank you. But if you see the first scene, he's on the train with his manager, agent guy.
Right.
And that was our opportunity to have him say, just something simple like, yeah, it's fun being a rock star, but, I have this inner need for some meaning in my something,
Mhm.
some problem that he will find it by having, saved, you know, the world from this whatever disaster we had, and having met the girl,
Yeah.
and it would have been such an easy thing. And I used to talk about this with Jim Abrams, that we were actually so close to it, we could have done it.
Yeah. I mean, was was it a flop or was it just
It
piddled
was
along?
no, it was a flop.
As-
Yeah, it lasted 2 weeks in the theaters, and then it was, into the
Mhm.
99-cent houses. It was just, whereas Airplane, because the trailer was so good,
Yeah.
it opened at, I don't know, open at 8 million. I mean, this is in those days, and it kept doing an eight. It
Yeah.
kept doing every weekend. It didn't drop off,
Yeah.
and because of word of mouth, because when the audience walked up the aisle to leave the theater, they felt they had won.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing of it. And it doesn't matter. The jokes don't matter. And the same with BASEketball, which is also this huge cult classic. And nobody knows that it didn't really perform that well when
Mhm.
it was released. In fact, maybe you should cut this section out of this thing so that nobody ever finds out. But BASEketball is like my son Charles' favorite movie that I ever did.
Yeah.
And in fact, they want to. There's a company that wants to make a national TV series out of it with a real competition reality show and make it into a real sport.
Yeah. Interesting. Do Matt and Trey still have ownership over it, or?
No, they don't have. We don't. None of us have.
Yeah.
Any
No.
ownership.
Yeah.
However, I had a meeting with Matt and Trey, and they're happy to be a part of it. So, I mean, they won't. I don't think they'll be in it, but maybe they'll be the commissioners of BASEketball.
Yeah, they seem pretty busy right now, though.
Yeah, they're
good
pretty
for
busy.
them. Yeah.
And they have enough money to say no to anything. But we've remained friends over the years, and I think they're interested in doing something with BASEketball. And also, I've become friends with Bill Hader.
Oh, okay.
And he's was a writer for South Park, and he kept telling them how great BASEketball is. He was always
to the
in
point
their
where they
ear.
realized it wasn't that great.
You don't realize how great this movie was. So it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember seeing Airplane three times during the summer when it came out, and then I guess I was one of the few who saw Top Secret when it came out in the theater.
Yeah, well, a lot, people were there in the first week, and it's funny, half of the reviews were raves, and half of them, just they didn't think it was good. So, but you can't, you can never tell what people are going to think. But Airplane got, pretty much like 97%.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for talking to me about comedy, and I appreciate it. I learned a lot. And you've got MasterCrash coming out on August 4th.
August 4th, mastercrash.com. And we're going to build a community. It's going to be a lot of fun and entertaining, too.
All right, amazing. Well, thank you very much for...
Okay, sure.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That's...